Dolly, I love you. I want to lead with that.
Okay.
I
Thank
just want
you.
to set that there.
Well, I love you back. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, especially now. Yeah, I
Ah,
think
good.
we've been there.
We all love you.
So a question, I want to set it up first. I have a story that I do on my act where I talk about people that show up whenever you really can't. They're there to offer you something, but nothing in return. And I talk about Lionel Richie and how I was freaking out one day because Ryan Seacrest, he got sick and had to miss Idol, so I had to go host it with like 4 minutes before the show starts. He's never missed an episode. And here I am. And it's not that I can't host a show, but the stage direction is such a big part about it. And I talk about how Lionel gets up, walks all the way across the arena. He's got to get back to his seat too, and just gives me this real, hey man, hands on the shoulders, you can do this, the Commodores did this. He didn't have to do that. Like Lionel Richie's as famous, as nice, as cool as could be. Didn't have to do that. And so I talk about how amazing it is when people will give to you when they want nothing in return. And so when I say a story like that to you, who comes to mind that did not have to be there for you, but was there?
Well, so many people. I actually have more than one. In my early days, my Uncle Bill, who's the one that took me around because he saw my great potential. And he would take me around to shows and things. And even when my daddy didn't even want me to go, getting out in the world like my Uncle Bill used to bring me down to Nashville in the early days. So he was definitely one of the people that didn't have to do it. He just saw that was my dream and my desire. But there are many people, like in the business, Minnie Pearl, when I first came to Nashville, she called me over one day and she said, Dolly, you're a right pretty girl. And you seem like you got, a lot of talent, because I've heard some of your songs. She said, but don't let anybody ever tell you that you need to be this way or you need to be that way. You just be you. And she said, and don't let none of these old hairy-legged boys try to make you believe that you're not as good as they are, because you can be whatever you want to be. And she didn't have to do that, but she saw that I was about to do my number, and she did not want me to get caught up. And like some of the girls would just kind of do whatever they needed to do to get a break. But she saw something else in me, but she just said, don't do it. You just be you and believe in your talent and believe in yourself.
Why do you think she did that?
Because she's a good person. Like you said, people that are good tend to do good things. And I think that was probably Lionel's good heart that saw that he'd been in that spot before. And she probably had, in her own time and in her own way, been in that spot.
We went to Italy, my wife and I, and I'm from a rural town in Arkansas. I never went out of the country until I started to have some success. So now that we're a little older, get to do some cool stuff, and we go, and they would have Italian music on in these places, but I ate so early because my schedule was pretty early. And they would turn on American music everywhere we went. And 3 of the 4 places they turned on your music when we walked in. They assume every American, and it's probably right, loves Dolly Parton.
Well, I'm sure every American don't. And I'm sure that, I'm sure there's a lot of people like slap me upside the head, but I don't want to hear about them. It's a great compliment. But see, I've been at this a long time, and I've been famous in Europe for years and years and years because of the songs that I used to sing and write, like Coat of Many Colors, and people related to that. They knew that I was brought up in a family of 12 children. I was kind of a mountain Cinderella story, and people related to my music, and so therefore they related to me. And then when I got to being on TV and stuff, people felt like they knew me. So it wasn't uncommon. A lot of my music was playing more overseas than it did here for a long time, from my early records. But it's nice to be loved by anybody, anywhere.
I was eating pasta to your music, though. That's what most places we went, it was you playing over the top or eating our pasta in Italy.
Well, did that make you happy, or was you trying to get out of the country?
No, it made me feel like I was at home, which is great. My set on my show, I have a couch and a couple lamps, and really that's it, because when I grew up we grew up in a 900 square foot house in Arkansas. I never had a bedroom. My whole life I slept on the couch. And so my closet was underneath my couch, and it was literally, everything was on the couch. Never had a bedroom. And so that was what it was like, though, for me growing up in a small house with a lot of people around. Your story, similar-ish. You're from a small town in Tennessee. What was home like for you growing up?
Well, home was like full. There was a lot of kids. Mama had one kid on her and one kid in her, as long as I can remember. One on her hip and one growing in. But we lived in the house, where we didn't have running water unless we'd run and get it. And, we just kind of washed in a wash pan. And people say, how in the world did you take a bath? That many people in the house. Because there were 6 boys and 6 girls in my family, ultimately. I mean, after we were all there, and after Mom had them all. But people say, how did you take a bath? How'd you have any privacy? I said, well, we had a little screen, a little sheet Mom would tie on a string over there. And then we'd wash up as far as possible, and then we'd wash down as far as possible. And when the boys cleared the room, we washed possible.
I do. Yes, yes, I do.
Well, it is like that because it was about your privacy. Because you knew when you could, the girls had to do their thing, the boys had to do their things, and Mom would make sure, that we cared about such things as privacy and decency and all that. So, but when you're growing up, it's just natural. Growing up like we did, you learn the rules and you go by them.
When you have all those brothers and sisters, you have to somehow get attention for yourself. I mean, you're born into an environment of everybody, even indirectly seeking attention. You got a couple parents, 12 kids. I mean, is that where this performance gene came from?
Yeah. Well, my mother's people were all very musical, so music was always a part of our family. My grandpa was a preacher. He also played piano and played guitar. So my people were the ones that sang at funerals and weddings and shindigs and anything around locally. Some of my relatives, somebody was always playing. But when I was young, my Uncle Bill and my Uncle Lewis were both, they paid attention to me. My Uncle Lewis gave me my first little baby Martin guitar because he saw how serious I was. When everybody would come bring their instruments, we'd sit on the porch and sing. Well, I learned to play that little guitar, and that's when my Uncle Bill saw the great potential. But I learned to play when I was like 7. So I started writing some serious songs. And then Mama was fascinated with how I could rhyme and write songs about stuff I'd never lived. But I'd hear them talk about people in the war, somebody sick, somebody this, just those old world songs they used to sing. So I would write all these songs. And when people would come to the house, Mom would say, run and get your guitar. I want you to hear what this little thing has wrote, And so I would get my guitar and I would sing those songs. And so I saw right away that I was getting more attention because I have a sister and 2 brothers older, so I was 4th one down, and then there's 8 younger. So I didn't get a lot of attention, but I saw I could get it. And I was one of those kids that needed a lot of attention. And I knew Mom and Daddy loved us all the same, but we didn't get picked up unless we was getting our butt busted or sick or something. So that guitar and my music was my first entrance into getting the attention that I needed. And I'm still at it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, you still crave it?
I do. I think that's, but I crave it now because it fulfills what I feel is my true gift. I love to write songs, and I've written tons and tons of songs through the years. But it's, I don't know that it's, well, I guess it is about attention. I just love doing it. And I want people to see that I can do it. I want them to appreciate what I am doing, that I have written these songs that I hope are good, I think are good. But that's for somebody else to judge. But then when they do judge me, and I get the accolades from all that, then I feel like I've done something great. And I do crave that. So I guess attention is the best word for it, don't you guess?
Yeah, I think I just was seeking love. Like, I think that was it for me, where I would go, okay, well, I didn't get a lot of love growing up because I didn't have parents, really. And so I would go and perform or be funny, and people would go, I like that. I would be like, wow, I'm liked. And so it didn't start working with me with girls until probably my 20s.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I just got married a couple years ago. I've been married 2 years, so.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Never been married, 2 years in.
Ah.
So but it's difficult because I already kind of had my ways wired. I was 40 when I got married.
Well, yeah, did she have her ways wired?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm way more wired, though.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I'm almost 12 years older than her, so it's not a crazy difference, but it's enough of a difference to where, like, she still got some landing room to where
Yeah.
I am who I am, am trying to not be that way. But
No, don't you not be. Let her change. Don't you change.
I've never heard anyone advise.
change.
I've never heard anyone advise that. Okay, well, what?
Well, you can't change.
This is the greatest segment. Give me more advice like that.
You know what? I've been with my husband for 59 years. He knew who I was when he met me, and I knew who he was. And but I was only 18 when we met, and he was 21. So we kind of grew up together. You know, we kind of learned each other as we went. But I saw who he was early on, and he saw who I was, and he saw right away that I wasn't going to change much. But I was able to adapt. I think that word is better about adapting than it is change. You got to adapt to certain things because you can't just have it all your way.
I'm going to take her that clip, though, of you saying she needs to change and cut the rest of it out except for that.
Well, I don't think you need to. I don't know what it's like at home. I ain't her, but I'd like to be. But
So,
no, but don't change.
A similarity that I think your husband not known for being a super public guy. My wife does not like to be in the spotlight.
Oh, my husband hates it. He don't. He never was.
So how do you? Where's that balance? Because we struggle with that now. Because I need it to be successful. She does not want it at all. How did you guys do that?
Well, my husband was a homebody, and he's very quiet, and he didn't want to do anything but be at home. He's a homebody. He's a Cancer. You know, if you go by the signs, I'm Capricorn, he's Cancer. Those are compatible signs. If you put any faith in that, but if you don't, and I don't to that degree, but he loved being who he was and loved being left alone to do it. And I loved being who it wasn't being left alone to do it. And so we just found ways, things that we did like together and things that we enjoyed doing that was us. So maybe you be you and let her be her, and then you got to find some new things so you can be us. You can be, who you are, because that's the key of just trying to find that. You can't just make somebody be what you want them to be. They are who they are.
I'm trying to make her be what I want to be, but she's also very strong herself.
That's what I'm saying. You can't make anybody change. You've just got to make them want to do some things different or be willing to. And if not, it won't last. And you can come live with me and my husband. Well, you were.
I will. I'll use this in court when I show up at your house and you guys try to kick me out.
Yeah.
So.
But it's not easy. No matter, we've been together all these years, but like I say, somebody says, what do you attribute your long marriage to? I said, well, I stay gone. So maybe that's your answer.
Do you guys have just an example about my wife and I? I usually don't work 3 weekends in a row, meaning I'll work all week doing the radio show or shooting TV, and I'll tour, but I really try hard not to do 3 in a row to for sure carve out that weekend. Like, we try to set these little benchmarks and pillars. Did you guys have any of that in your relationship early on so you didn't get lost? Because my time management skills are not great to do personal and private.
Well, I hadn't become a star when I met my husband. I just came here to be one, and he knew that, and so he went with it. But did she not know that about you?
She did. I think, though, when we dated pre-COVID for 6-8 months or so, long distance, then COVID, and I'm home all the time.
Well, that's when you get to know somebody. You know
we
that
got to
old
know each
saying?
other. Yep.
You don't know somebody until you have to live with them.
Until you got to poop real close to them. You know what I mean? That's and so. But
well, that's when you know who you really are.
And that's how I knew I loved her. But then once work opened up, I'm gone again. And it's like and so I kind of hit her with the rope-a-dope, or I tricked her. I was like, look how home I am. And then I'm gone all the time.
Don't you blame her faults on COVID. Mm-hmm. So both of you have to take the blame.
Oh, it's all me. I've also learned that.
So she said, right?
Yes, I've learned it's all me.
It's not all you.
I take it. I have to apologize for what she does for what I do in her dreams. That's a thing now. Like, if she has a bad dream and I do something bad in her dream, then I have to.
I better take a look, or I will say too much.
Well, you talk about fame. Like, what is it?
Fame. Well, I guess the word fame is after you. I think that word must have been invented after people were already stars. Had to be. Because I think fame and success are not necessarily the same words. And successful and success are not the same words. You can be a success but not successful if you don't know how to enjoy it, if you can't enjoy it, if you don't appreciate it, if it doesn't work for you and make you happy. Because that is, money, as that whoever said it, money can make a man, but man can make money, but money cannot make a man. It's the same, it's like you got to, but fame, I guess that just means you've made it and there you are, just like a star. But it's like that movie Rhinestone. There was a line in it that I always laughed at. A star is just a big ball of gas. And that's kind of what it is if you look at it like that. So it's what you tag it to. I feel like I'm famous, meaning everybody. I think fame means that everybody knows who you are. You're famous because everybody knows your name. And they'll see you on TV. But that still should not make you a different person.
Or does it make you more of who you kind of really are? Since you have access and since you have resources, does fame, success make you more of who you originally are, and where do you think?
I think so. I'd like to think so. In my case, it does, because I've never been a diva. I've never, I'm thankful that I'm successful. I always wanted to have money. I wrote a song called Sacrifice, and it says, I was going to be rich no matter how much it took. So I was going to be rich no matter how much it cost, and I was going to win no matter how much I lost. And that, to me, those two lines, it's like if you're willing to sacrifice. All through the years, I kept my eye on the prize, and you ask if it's worth the sacrifice, but you don't, it's like empty or full. I've carried my pail, but you don't drink the water if you don't dig the well. It's like all those things. I think that I'm the same person I always was. I'm just more relaxed now, more comfortable, because I can afford to be. That's what you were saying. I can afford to be myself. Just like when I started cutting, I had to wait. I never could make money, big money, singing bluegrass, and I love bluegrass. And so when I did my bluegrass album, I said I had to get rich in order to sing like I was poor, And it's like you kind of, you could look at things like that. But I guess everybody has their own a version of what they think fame and stardom is. I'm a celebrity, but all those words like celebrity, star, and fame, they're just words that tag to people that hopefully that have become successful at what they're best at. And if you're, like I said, if you're a true success, that means you should be able to enjoy it.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
When did you start being able to enjoy it?
Well, when I quit being able to enjoy it, I'm going to quit altogether. Now, there are times I get stressed out because there's so much you have to do that you just get, you're just burnt out. You're just beat. Then you think all kinds of things. Well, maybe it's time. Maybe I should do this and do that. But, you're up the next morning thinking about something you want to go do. You can't help it if that's who you are. It's like my song. I wrote a song called Whatever You Are, Be That. Whatever you do, do that. Because anything else is just an act. So whoever you are, be that. So if you're a comedian, be that. If you're a DJ, be that. Whatever you are, that's true to you, and that's how you express yourself. We don't have to make ourselves over or allow somebody else to make us over. We need to be who we are and find ways to make that work for us.
I found that if I lie or fabricate a story, it's not that I'm too good for it, I just can't remember it all the time. So I try not to. So I don't. I just try to tell the truth and be as honest as I can, not because I'm too good to lie, because I would love to lie and remember it, because this is more entertaining, but I can't remember it. So I stay honest. With you, I feel like that's been a big part of who you are, is just honesty at all costs. Was that always the idea with you?
Well, I don't think about it like that. I always say all my lives are true. No, it's like, I think sometimes you have to make excuses that might turn out, like a lot of people might say that that's a lie. But usually it's an excuse you have to make. You have to bend the truth, mostly to spare someone else's feelings.
So white lies are okay?
But for myself, well, I'm not saying a lie is okay. I'm just saying sometimes...
When you say I come to your house, that's a lie.
When I what?
When you say I can come to your house and live with you and your husband, that's a...
That's a lie.
Right, that's my point. Yeah, see? That's what I'm saying here.
But my good heart would allow you to if you needed to.
Okay.
If you needed to come.
Okay.
Of course, I was saying it to be funny.
Sure.
But, But my good heart would welcome you into my house. So I guess that's when you're successful. If you appreciate what you've got and be able to help somebody else with it.
The album, Rockstar, and the book, Behind the Scenes, like they are both so new. Meaning, you put new songs on an album, you didn't have to do that. You could have just done these amazing songs with these amazing artists and do your version of it. Same thing with a book. It is a book of something you've never released before. Your fashion. And
Fashion.
You have created fashion for so many people. So why keep on pushing as hard as you do?
Oh, well, I'm not pushing. That's just, I want to leave things, like we were talking earlier before we even went on the air about working so hard, but I feel like I got to make hay while the sun shines. I'm 77 years old, and I've done a lot in my time, and I'm thankful for every bit of it. But there's stuff out there that I want to have my hands on to be part of my legacy. I want to be part of all these things that I know somebody's going to cash in on when I'm dead. So why not make it right? Why not do it, and why not do it great? Well, certainly with the book. I had a book called Songteller, and it was all about my songwriting. Why I wrote songs, how I was feeling when I wrote songs, what inspired them, what period of, in my life I was in. And so this one is the Behind the Scenes, and it's about who can tell my story better than me. I know those feelings, I know those thoughts, I know the pain and the sorrow and the joy and the fun of all of it, and the people and the jerks and the, everything that has to do with my life. Nobody can guess that. You might guess at it, but you're not going to know. So I'm doing that because I want to get as much stuff out as I can with as much quality as I can, so it don't just get counterfeited when I'm dead and gone. And I've got, and my next book is going to be called
you have another
Star
book.
of the Show. It's like a three, the Songteller, Behind the Scenes, and the one I'm calling Star of the Show, which is the name of one of my songs. And it's about my life on the road. The musicians, the travel, the hotels, the craziness, and all the stuff. So I want to tell those stories. I don't want somebody else to tell them. But anyway, getting back to what you're saying, I'm the kind of person, I have to be busy, and I can tell you're the same way. I've got a lot of energy, and if I didn't use that to be creative, I'd just turn that in on myself, and that'd be dangerous. Or I'd turn it in on somebody else. That would be worse. So I think that if you're creative and you have these thoughts, you have to just keep on doing it. And, it's like I can't even imagine just quitting. That's why I say I'll never retire. I might have to quit if my husband got sick and I need to be with him. And if I was ill, it would have to be a serious illness. I'd have to, I'd still be writing if my right arm worked. If my arms worked, I could still write. But I just want to do everything I can because it won't always be this way. I won't always have this opportunity. And God's been good to me and people have been good to me. And I get scared sometimes when everybody tries to put me on some sort of a pedestal. I think, God, don't put me up there. All you can do is just knock me off. I'm not all that. I talk about things like I'm not an angel. I just play one on TV, and that's the truth. So I'm a lot of things, but what I try to be mostly is a good person and try to be creative and try to be good to others.
Right, final 3 questions. I have a lot of people that will be watching this, and they're watching because they want to laugh and have a good time, but hopefully to be inspired to just, commit to being better. If it's a mom, if it's a dad, or a better fireman, or a bank, or work at a bank, and it's just committing to it. And a lot of people have trouble just committing to it because of the fear of failure. And I have to imagine that someone that has all these successes, as yourself, has had a fair share of pretty big failures too.
Well, we all have failures, but you don't look at it like that if you're a smart person. Because even just like when I had my variety show years ago, it was entitled to be going to be this or that, and I got a ton of money for it, which they had to pay me for anyway, even though it didn't last. But I was disappointed that it didn't work, but it didn't work for all the reasons I knew it wasn't going to work when we started it. I wasn't me. I couldn't be me. They were trying to revamp the old variety shows, and I'm just a one kind of person. I'm just me. And if we can work off of me, I can make it successful. But if I try to go outside of my comfort zone, I never can make it work. But But I learned so much about that show. You learn what you should not look at it like a failure, but as a stepping stone. I learned so much from that of what not to do, what not to allow to happen next time, that even in other shows I've done since then that I've produced or worked in, I've learned from that. So everything is something you can learn from. It's just a stepping stone. And so I'm even, I really am almost glad that it didn't work because I didn't want to continue. I was under stress with it because I wasn't happy doing that. So as it was, I could have still been on the air if they'd have let me, do more of what, who I am. But we all have those things in our lives, and we're all, it takes a while to overcome it. You're embarrassed by certain things and all that. But if you're the right kind of talent and the right kind of person, you'll just take that as a good lesson. Which, by the way, I'm going to do a comedy album one of these days since you're having a comedy show. That's going to be one of my next things. People have always said. Your
songs are super funny and witty, like even the ones you don't mean to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is the most clever line, most clever couplet, rhyming line that you have in your song?
Well,
off the top of your head.
I just think that one I just said, I was going to be rich no matter how much it cost. And I was going to win no matter how much I lost. Or one of my favorite lines in the songs I've written is A Cup of Ambition. I get excited about those kind of things. But I don't know. I can't think right off the top of my head, but a lot of my songs have a lot of comedy. But I want to do a stand-up comedy album someday because I like being funny.
Me too. I just wish I was...
Well, you are funny.
Well,
I want to say you are funny, and you are good, and you are capable of so many things, and you are so liked.
I start crying. This is not even about me.
I know.
No.
But let me just say
Go
this.
ahead. I mean, I don't like compliments.
But you're a DJ. Let me just say, a lot of
those
those people that watch this, they'll be all over the world, all over the country. But we think of you as like a local boy. And here in Nashville, I mean, you are just fantastic on the radio. Everybody loves the Bobby Bo Show. I mean, it's like we get up to do it, Amy and all the people you have on the show. And then when you go out and do some of these shows, like American Idol, and you just have a spirit and an energy and a little, I don't know, you just got magic somehow. And I think you're good, and I think you ought to just be allowed to be good.
I don't need any more questions after that. I think we're going to end on that, and I'm not even going to air any other interview, just that last segment over and over.
Well, we like you here. You're a local boy to us.
Thank you very much. You are the best. Thank you for the time and the inspiration to so many, and for letting me fondle your jewelry here on the side.
Get off of me.
No,
you got to come to mine and Carl's house, and he's got to give you permission.
You told me at the beginning I had permission. All right. Thank you, guys. Back to you guys. There's nobody there. I'm just pointing. So I gotta
okay.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Dolly.
Oh,
that was awesome.